came off that 1-5 high screen and roll.
He'll launch it, and he'll get it. For West Virginia, just disappeared past the... Oh! Islam. Oh, my goodness! National championship.
I don't remember what year that was from.
Who was that was winning at the end?
I mean, Kansas, but I don't know if that was Kansas winning the national championship. That was just like highlights from the tournament. I can't remember.
I thought I saw Jaleel Okafor from Duke. That was like 2015.
Might have been 14 or 15 on that. I mean, it would have had to have been the 1 year that he was there, since he didn't stay for more than one.
Yeah.
So.
Here we have our basketball expert. He's muted himself though, so now he's gone and he's back.
I figured
How much basketball did you watch over the weekend, Magoo?
Almost every game.
Nice.
I had had two TVs going, had the March Madness app up on the Roku, just had it to where it was always on a game. And I don't know if I'm going to do that this weekend though. But before we get to why this is all multicolored and a lot of them are the bad colors, I just want to go ahead and take full credit for my comment, I believe about a week ago, saying that Purdue is fool's gold. That's the level of expertise that you can expect from me. Now,
I did say that if a 1 was going to lose to a 16, I also said it would be Purdue. So,
well, I just want to get all this boasting out of the way up front because it's literally all I offer. Beyond that,
it's not like you actually put it on your bracket either.
I guess I'll follow that up with what does a point guard do, and like where does the forward go, and like the possession arrow and the bonus. What is that all about?
Well, if you're Kansas State, your point guard just like puts on a full-on razzle dazzle and makes everybody look stupid.
If you're Kentucky, you don't recruit point guards.
That's right. Who needs a point guard when you can just load up on
forwards,
elite level athletes and fly up and down the court and not hit shots?
This is correct.
I will say that I watched so many games that I don't really remember anything from any one game because it's all just I don't even know how many games were played.
Threes made, some dunks. It was a wild weekend.
I'm pretty sure Arkansas is still in. Didn't they beat Kansas? And there were a couple of ones that went down. And all I know is that my bracket hopefully looks better than others, but I don't know. Like I know in the morning after bracket group, it says I'm in last place, but that's only because the top half of the seating right now and that none of them have their champions anymore. So
no, I think it'll come down to me, you, and Justin. Who's ever champion wins will win that group.
Yeah,
because if my champion keeps going, then that'll knock the two of you out. So it'll be interesting.
You have UCLA, I have Bama. I don't know who did you pick to win it all?
Houston.
Yeah, I got Houston. I was like, I would never, ever. I've never picked Houston even in a single game in my entire life ever. But I was like, yeah, but I've also lost every bracket I've ever entered. So let me do the one thing that I would never do naturally. Actually, that's all a lie. There was not a cogent thought put into my bracket. I listened to one 20-minute podcast by some sports bets guys, and they were going through.
Too.
Well, yeah, but I filled my bracket out before. Okay. I'm pretty sure before last week's episode, and they went on this whole run of like over the last 20 years, the team to win it all was in the top 5 statistically in these categories, and this year there's only one team that meets all that criteria, and it's Houston. And I was like, well, that figures. I would never choose them, and that means that they're probably going to win. So let her rip.
Yeah, Houston also plays in a not very great league, so
damn it,
their numbers might.
I thought you were going to say
numbers are a little inflated.
They play in one of the toughest leagues, and you know what? That's pretty damn good. You must really know this sport of basketball. which
Houston is kind of the same reason that I never pick Gonzaga to go past the Sweet 16, because they're going to have an incredible regular season record, and they're going to win their conference tournament. But that's it. Once they hit legitimate competition, then they're going to fizzle out, because they just don't have the horses to run with the big dogs. They always do well, and they always have excellent seasons and put on an impressive game. But once it comes time, NCAA tournament time, that's when things get different. As much as I hate the fucker, Calipari was talking about how they're not going to call a lot of these fouls, so you're going to have to toughen up and play big. And that is playoff tournament basketball. You're not going to get a bunch of those calls. So you better be ready to get your ass whooped, and you better be ready to give it back. And teams like Gonzaga, Houston, they come from these smaller, soft conferences. They don't have the ability to hit back in those situations.
Yeah, I'm just surprised that there's still this many SEC teams in the tourney. I think I had Duke losing to Tennessee. But that's also because I forgot a little known fact that their Hall of Fame coach retired last year, allegedly. I don't know when the fuck that happened, but apparently that comes pretty handy when you're in the tourney. And I'm going to play the role of the everyman that literally just started watching basketball a week ago.
The fact you just referred to Coach K as their Hall of Fame coach.
Yeah, the one and only. He's
guy.
the first Hall of Fame coach in Duke's history. I've been led to believe,
because he's been there for 40-something years.
Do I want to take a look at the bracket from?
Let's do it.
From last week. That one doesn't look good. Hang on, let me pull it up on a different screen.
First two rounds for me did not. I still have 3 out of 4 of my final 4, which makes me happy. I wish I would have let Justin talk me out of Duke last week. I knew I was being an idiot.
Well, it wasn't necessarily that you were being an idiot. It was that Tennessee was without one of their best players and will be for the rest of the tournament. And
I didn't trust Purdue.
Duke looked really good in the ACC
they're
tournament. They were one of the hottest teams in the country, if not the hottest team in the country coming into this thing. So, it's not a bad pick. My 12 and 13 seed picks in the Midwest didn't play out at all. They gave them good. Kent State and Drake. No, that wasn't the one. Where was it? St. Mary's, VCU and Iona. Yeah, they VCU gave St. Mary's a good game. Iona did not give UConn a good game at all.
No, at halftime it was close. I was telling you this.
Yeah,
mixing back and forth with you. UConn plays these teams close in the first half, and they just kill them in the second half.
Yeah, it's because of that Hall of Fame coach Iona has up there at Patino.
Oh, he's at St. John's. So.
Oh, did he already take the job?
I like how a day after his team is knocked out of the tournament.
I'm really thinking about it. I just love coaching. I'm just glad to be back. I'm out. Fuck this place.
See, I guess we could touch
talk
on
about a fast break, huh? Huh?
It was he went to St. John's, and then the Fairleigh Dickinson guy went to Iona. So we're just shuffling chairs.
Hey, that's the way it works. It's the Chinese fire drill of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I like.
So we want to talk about some of the big first round upsets. You got Furman knocking off Virginia.
Yeah, what the fuck is that about?
Never underestimate Virginia's ability to fuck up an easy first round win.
This is true.
But it's Furman. They're in this SoCon. It's 1AA. I went to college at one of their rivals, and we used to just beat them in everything. And we sucked at most sports other than football. Yeah. To me, that was probably the most surprising one. Purdue going down, it's just make it 3 years in a row. But this one, I was like, Virginia losing
So
to
Virginia plays a style where they're always going to play good defense. Their offensive style is like they're very pass happy, but if they're not, they're always looking for the best possible shot. And typically they do hit their shots, but if they're not hitting their shots, they don't have that one guy that they can go to sort of keep them in a game or carry them on offense. So the shots aren't falling, and the other team is hitting just enough to score 65. Then Virginia is ripe for an upset.
And where was that dude throwing the ball at the end of the game? Like, there's like 10 seconds to go, and he just like chucks it to half court straight to a Furman defender. Like,
so I guess
with an open guy, like literally right there, and a timeout to use, and just like hurls it down the court straight to a defender. Like, that was. I like what's your coach's name? Tony Bennett.
Yeah.
I really like Tony Bennett. I like his style, but he's one of those guys that it seems like at the end of a game, he's gonna he doesn't coach well down the stretch. Does that make sense? Like, I know they had a championship run that 1 year, but like aside from that 1 year, that like he doesn't do well in tight games. There was 1 year, I want to say it was Xavier or like a smaller school back when Xavier was like perennially in the tournament as a 12 or a 13 seed or something like that. And it might not have been them, but it was somebody was playing Maryland, and they were up by 2 and Maryland had no timeouts. They hit the shot to go up by 2 and then immediately called a timeout with like 3 seconds to go. I was like, oh, they're done. Like, you don't give a coach like Gary Williams an opportunity to set a play up with 3 seconds to go when he otherwise didn't have a timeout to use to set something up. It's like, Maryland's going to come down and hit a 3 and win this. And sure enough, they set up this like impressive inbound play and threw a Hail Mary down the court, knocked down a 3, game over. It's like, all you had to do was not call a timeout and just like let the clock run out and you take that win. But some coaches just don't have the ability to win a game down the stretch for their team, and Tony Bennett seems to be one of those guys. Like,
he might try to micromanage a little too much, which is a trap that coaches fall into in the last few minutes of a game. It's like, but yeah, the pass. I guess what they were saying is he was trying to throw the ball up or down the court because there's like 5 seconds left. But
there were 8 seconds left.
Yeah, his internal clock was way off.
Yeah, so it didn't work.
Charles Barkley sometimes has good takes, and his take was if you're going to do that, you have to throw the ball straight up, not sort of across your body, because then it doesn't go as high as what you're thinking it's going to go. If you throw it straight up, then there really is not a chance for the team to like catch it and shoot. But like you said, you can't throw it straight up at 8 seconds either. It's got to be like under 5.
Let's see. Our next upset that we had, they ended up pulling off 2 in a row. I don't know how. Princeton knocks off Arizona and then comes back and just beats the brakes off Missouri. And I feel kind of dumb for this one. Like I had said, I watched Princeton in the Ivy League semifinals and in the Ivy League championship, and I was not impressed with them at all. I guess they played down to the inferior Ivy League competition, and then once they got on the big stage, they can take it up a notch and play with higher competition, because they've looked really good in those 2 games. That's not the same team I saw in the Ivy League championship.
I think the Princeton over Arizona makes less sense to me than the FDU over Purdue upset. Like that, yeah. I did not think that Arizona was going to be losing a game to Princeton, and especially those stats I sent you, Justin. They were 4 of 23. Princeton was from 3. They shot 5 free throws. Like, that's not a recipe for an upset. But Arizona's only scored 55 points after, I think, leading the Pac-12 in points per game.
Well, you see, the Pac-12 is not, much like Houston, plays in a pretty shitty. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, I mean, it's Arizona and UCLA. Like, they're good programs. Yeah. But other than that, it's
well, and like I've already made it wildly apparent that I don't watch as much college basketball as I should to even be on the show, much less have anything to say on it. But as a cursory viewer that usually only starts to kind of poke around and look at college basketball at all in conference championship week, getting ready to make my picks for March Madness, I don't know how many people would have had Princeton beating Arizona, much less being where they are now. Like, you know how they say, like, oh, there's 10 million brackets, and out of, this many brackets, there's only 2% that are still, perfect. There's no way there's a perfect bracket out there right now.
No, I don't think so. My after this Princeton upset, my cousin texts me and my brothers, and he's like, "Yeah, I called this one." And then he tells us later on that this is the bracket that he has Oral Roberts playing Colgate in the championship. I was like, "Oh, so you picked all upsets so that when one finally hits, you can be like, yep, called it." So that you can't do that.
Nailed it. Just takes a picture and just crops everything else out.
Right. But I think the Oral Roberts Colgate championship is a good call.
Yeah.
It's good for someone's mouth.
I'd watch it.
Let's see. What are the other what are the other big upsets that we've got? We've got we already talked about Purdue getting upset. I guess Arkansas taking down Kansas. That was kind of a big upset. That was a really good game. Arkansas really played well down the stretch in that one. Surprised the hell out of me.
There was a couple more, I thought.
I believe Kansas had a 10, 12-point lead in the second half.
Yeah.
And you don't see many comebacks like that in the tournament anymore. I've noticed this. Like, you see great finishes, but if a team gets up by double digits second half, especially under 10 minutes, but even under 16, under 15 minutes, you don't really see comebacks a whole lot.
And so Michigan State knocked off Marquette. That was a good game.
Yeah, that one crushed me because I had Marquette going at least into the Elite Eight in every single one of my brackets. Just because they had a 2 next to them, and I didn't like the other teams that they would have potentially gone up against. And I
had Kansas State beating them anyway. So, and my Kansas State picks are looking pretty good. They've been solid.
If there were actually Michigan State fans that watched the show, I would apologize for the very mean things I said about Izzo last week. But I don't think we have any State fans in our audience, so I'm just gonna skirt on by.
Creighton knocked off Baylor.
That one I think was the other one that I was considering an upset, even though it probably wasn't. I just had Baylor going much further than this.
Baylor is similar to Virginia. I also had Baylor in the Elite Eight, so this one hurt me. Yeah. But they're similar to Virginia in that they are either an early round exit or the Final Four team. It's like there's no happy medium for them. Going back to the first round, this was an upset seeding wise, but I fell into the fool's gold that was Louisiana over Tennessee, because it seemed like everyone was picking that as sort of a niche upset of the first round. In Tennessee, I didn't believe in Tennessee. You mentioned their point guard was out, but their defense is just elite. And of course, they go into the second round, and also not an upset, but I think most people probably had Duke over Tennessee, and they beat Duke up.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have had much to worry about if either Memphis or Purdue were still around. I guess FAU, sure, but you feel a little more confident in taking that risk on Tennessee if Purdue is still, acting as a 1.
What'd I tell you about Memphis?
Yeah, they also did not seem to have a good end of game, good end of game coaching.
Penny Hardaway was just like, "Fucking take it."
I appreciated him throwing his water bottle.
Yeah.
He screwed it. He screwed up though, because he was like, "Man, we win this. We're playing a 16 seed next, and we have a good chance of making the Sweet 16." Nope. And FAU, I like the way they played. Actually,
I told you, Penny can recruit. He cannot coach. He's loved him as a player, elite recruiter, cannot coach.
Didn't they win their conference over Houston?
What is it? Conference USA?
I think it's American.
Game, yeah.
Huh.
So Houston won the regular season conference, and then Memphis won the championship game in the conference tournament. And they're the only teams from that league, I believe.
Are there other teams in that league?
It's what we were saying earlier. They're the Gonzaga St. Mary's.
I think Central Florida's in that league, if it's the same as football, but don't quote me on it.
That sounds right.
Even though they're not in the conference, I'm just saying things. If you haven't noticed.
Well, that's like the OVC always had Murray State and Belmont before both of them left for Missouri Valley or wherever they're. They both went to the Missouri Valley Conference, but like for the longest time, the OVC always had Murray and Belmont, and you could depend on every year it was going to be one of the two of them was going to make the tournament, and really the competition below that, like they get up for the semifinal games against them, but you knew that it was going to end up being Murray and Belmont in the championship. Like it didn't matter.
Yeah.
It didn't matter how good Austin Peay thought they were. They were getting knocked off, and they weren't making the championship game.
Speaking of non-traditional, like powerhouse leagues, I guess if we're thinking in terms of like football, like we don't even have this in football, but what is the league that Xavier and Creighton and UConn, like that's a good basketball league. And if Marquette would have made it, they would have had 4.
So it's still 16. The Big East. Do they still call it the Big East?
I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah. So that's a good league.
Yeah. I watched highlights, like 2 minutes of highlights of each of the conference championship games, just to kind of get an idea of who was going to be in the tournament. And it was long as shit, and had conferences I've never heard of, and I was just in teams I never knew existed. So there's places in this country I didn't even know had gymnasiums that are in this tournament and kicking ass, and I'm just like, wow, this is.
I played a game with my friend. I was like, can you guess where Fairleigh Dickinson is located? And he named every place in the country except New Jersey. It's fair.
Nothing good comes out of New Jersey, though. Feeling pretty good about that Penn State pick in the first round. That one again.
I was a little nervous in the game against Texas because obviously I got Texas in the championship game, and Penn State gave them a run for their money. Speaking of a good team, Texas actually seemed like they had good coaching down the stretch because they were able to pull out a close one. But yeah, Penn State absolutely demolished Texas A&M. And I was unfortunate because that was like one of the late night games, and I don't think there were any other like closer games going on at that time. So kind of lost interest in it once that game got out of hand.
Yeah, you usually don't expect a 10-7 matchup to get out of hand like that, but man, once it did, it was gone.
Yeah, there was another one like that. In the second round, I can't remember the teams, but I think it was maybe St. Mary's or UConn. Was it St. Mary's UConn?
Yeah.
Where it was just like St. Mary's was like, I think 3 for 23 at a point. I mean, it was just unwatchable. And UConn was just like, fuck it, boosh, and just making shit.
Dumping it down to their big foreign guy.
Yeah.
Ayabuka or something like that.
The interview,
whatever UConn wins at all, they do have that one guy, Emeka Okafor, back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Who sounds like a hell of a linebacker.
San Diego State, they really outplayed Furman in that game, which I also kind of felt like that's what San Diego State would have done to Virginia as well. Like you just saw, San Diego State plays that absolutely smothering style of defense, and if they can hit some shots, then they just chokehold the other team out. Like they don't give them an opportunity to breathe. And that's what San Diego State did to Furman. Like it wasn't a good game score wise, but if you want to watch like a defensive clinic on display, it was a fantastic game. Like, so for me, I really enjoyed watching the game, even though it was not at all close score wise. Like it was just it was like, this is how you play exceptional defensive basketball.
The only game over the weekend that I did not watch a single minute of was actually Miami, Indiana. I figured Miami was going to win this game. Does Miami have a chance against Houston? I'm not even that high in Houston, but
No, not at all. They're going to get fucking stomped.
Well, you have an interest in this, so maybe I'll ask Justin.
I thought Miami was kind of primed to be that. Obviously, I picked it. I thought they were primed to be that 12-5 upset in this year's tournament, and that didn't end up working out. I'm kind of surprised they have played as well as they have, and maybe they've recovered from a really piss poor ACC. See, that was one of my caveats last week was I said, maybe I'm wrong and they like recover from an incredibly piss poor showing in the ACC tournament and just like come out and rejuvenated and just beat the ever-loving breaks off of everybody that gets in their way. And if that continues to be the case, because they looked really good against Drake and they looked really good against Indiana, like if they carry that forward, I think they have the strength of schedule and the pedigree as a team that they could probably knock Houston off. But it's, do we get Miami of last weekend or do you get Miami of the weekend before that in the ACC tournament and just laying an absolute egg? So yeah, I mean, if they show up to play, I think they could run Houston, but if they don't, then it's not even going to be close. It's going to go the opposite direction. Like it's going to be one of those games. Like it's either really good or really bad for Miami.
Speaking of Drake, I did talk myself out of Drake because it must not have been in God's plan, but I talked myself out of that upset. I didn't talk myself out of the Kent State upset, unfortunately. But I do think Houston struggled in their first round game against Northern Kentucky. They actually got that guard back for the game against Auburn. And I mean, you can see by the score that it seemed like they were kind of back to be in Houston. So that's 1 point in your favor, Magoo, is they got one of their star guards back.
Hell
he's got he's got the groin or the hamstring though, right?
Groin.
Just stay under the basket. Just don't move. Be like a center.
Then put him on the bench.
I was going to say that's one of those injuries that for a position that's reliant on being able to cut and being able to run, like you really, if you're hanging your hat on performing well because you've got him in the lineup, that's a tough spot to be in. Because I mean, if you've ever had like a pulled groin or a pulled hamstring or an injury like that, you can play maybe for a little while until you can't. And then once you can't do anything at all. Like you get to go lay down and hope you don't die because it hurts so bad. And then after you're done playing, you get to spend the next 3 months like nursing it and rehabbing it because it just hurts perpetually for literally months. Like that's why whenever you see like an early season hamstring injury and like in the NFL or something, it's like just go ahead and chalk that dude up as like 60% for the rest of the year. Doesn't matter how long he takes off. Like he is going to be 60% for the rest of the year until he actually has an off season to rest and let that heal. When I pulled my hamstring, it was literally 4 months before I actually felt right again. Like didn't have to worry about like at some random point in running, all of a sudden it just locks up and I have to go sit down because I physically cannot walk. Like that's one of those tough injuries. So like I hope it doesn't like just bite him because when it does, it fucking sucks. So yeah, I mean, if you're Houston, you got to be really careful with that guy. I mean,
We're
was
really trying to
dangerous.
depress Magoo right now.
That was a dangerous
You have no
proposition putting
shot.
him in the first round. I mean, you're a 1 playing a 16. Don't play one of your better players on a questionable groin. Like,
Yeah.
No, man, gotta
And he
just let
didn't.
it.
He didn't. But they were tied with 4 minutes left, and he's probably
Gotta let it all hang out, boys. This is what we play for. This is the fuck. We're going for the ship or chip or whatever the fuck they say nowadays. Yeah, fuck your groins. That's why God gave you two. Depending on what you identify as. Sure, fuck anatomy. Get out there. Don't be a bitch or something. Hey, this next round, do we know? Like, it didn't say it on that bracket, but one of these other smart betting guys that apparently weasels people like me out of money so that they can have a podcast said something about, look at the location of these games. And you have like your mid-major, your little, your tiny schools with small fan bases. If they got to travel, they might get up for the first round, but they might not be able to make it a great distance, where like a blue blood is going to have a home court advantage, just as long as the underdog isn't too much of an underdog and shit like that. And that's kind of how I'm watching this next round.
Is this why you picked Houston? Because the Final Four is in Houston.
Didn't even know it was, to be honest with you, until right now. Yeah, I'm here asking the questions that
you could have just went with it. You didn't have to.
No, this is honest Magoo night. I'm literally I'm not even playing a character. I don't know fuck about basketball.
Jim's like the chick on Ozark. I don't know fuck about shit.
I don't know.
Where are these regional finals? I'm assuming Indianapolis is the Midwest.
It doesn't say on this bracket. I was trying to look it up.
I heard something about Madison Square Garden being a hosting site, but
that would be the East region.
Yeah, Kansas. Kansas State and Michigan State are playing at Madison Square Garden.
Orlando maybe is one.
I can't remember.
They've already been in Orlando. For the second round.
Oh, were they?
But I don't know. Fuck, maybe they stay there for a few.
They typically pack their bags and move somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very professional podcast.
The
Obviously.
professionalist.
The other ones are in Vegas. So you got Michigan State, Kansas State are playing at Madison Square Garden. Tennessee and FAU are at Madison Square Garden, and then UConn, Arkansas will be playing in Vegas, and UCLA Gonzaga will also be in Vegas. So, I mean, the only one that where is FAU?
I mean,
Madison
the Atlantic side of Florida, maybe.
East region.
So maybe they don't travel well, but the other teams in that part.
We're taking him off the show.
That's probably the smartest thing you could have done.
It's not working out, man.
Anyway, we want to pick these games.
Let's do it. There are two other regions with different places, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll get to those in a minute. FAU, Tennessee.
I'm going with Tennessee in this game. I think they're just going to keep beating people up, and we are prime for Tennessee and Michigan State Elite Eight, or not Michigan State. Heck no, Kansas State, Tennessee Elite Eight matchup. Sorry, I just picked two games in one.
That would be a wildly entertaining Elite Eight matchup.
It would be like, all right, we won't get too out of ourselves, but Kansas State's, the thing I noticed about them against Kentucky is they dunk everything. Like, they have an open lane, even if they don't have an open lane, like, they're not laying it in, they're going for the dunk.
And sometimes that point guard of theirs creates that. Like, just the way that he controls the tempo of that offense and draws the defense away from the rim. Just like, because he'll dart in and then get them to chase him back out or look like he's coming in, and they have to step out to get him because he'll hit those little like close pop shots and stuff like that. Like, they have to respect him, even though he's like 5'8" or something. Like, the whole defense collapses on him. And as soon as they do, he just throws the ball up in the air. And like I had talked about last week, like Kansas State always has those just like elite athletic players, like guys who can go up, elbow above the rim and just grab the ball out of midair and flush it. So yeah, I mean, and they did a really good job with Sheway. I mean, he had 20 and 20 or some crazy shit, but like he earned every single one of those. Like they really got after him, and Tennessee doesn't have anybody like that, which I'm getting ahead of myself. But I think Kansas State's a good bet over Michigan State, and Tennessee is a good bet over FAU.
I agree, and I just want to be the second to say that team from Boca Raton, Florida, will not stand a chance against Tennessee. Yep.
Thank you for looking that up for us.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us what side of the state Boca Raton is on?
It's on the east side. It's right there on the Atlantic.
Yes, Florida Atlantic.
So yeah, like you said, Kansas State, Tennessee will be fun because Kansas. I don't know what. I haven't watched a lot of Kansas State, but sometimes you got a team that dunks a lot because they have the most athletic team. Other times you actually have the coach telling the players to go out there and dunk everything as sort of an intimidation factor. We already saw Tennessee try to get inside Duke's head by out physicaling them, which they did. So if you have these two different styles going at it, it will be more of it might be more of a football game than the Duke Tennessee game was, which will be fun to watch.
So I think when we were talking last weekend, texting back and forth, I called Kansas State to the Final Four coming out of this region. If they're playing Tennessee, Tennessee is a team that can give them problems. But because of Noel and the way that offense executes, I think that's going to be a problem for Tennessee. Even though Tennessee is an elite defensive team, and they play bully ball as well as any team I've ever seen. I mean, the way they put it on Duke and created separation down the stretch is pretty impressive. But I think Kansas State, with their athletes and having a true point guard, like the way he runs that offense it's impressive. You don't see a whole lot of that in college basketball anymore, and I think that gives them an advantage. So I'd take Kansas State over Tennessee, but I would not be surprised at all if it went the other way and it turned into a bully ball game and Tennessee was able to do to them what they did to Duke. But I'm still going to stand. I'm going to stand by Kansas State.
I think I would take right now. I'm going to take Tennessee over Kansas State in that matchup. And I don't have any other good reasons why other than Tennessee is just going to get in their heads like they did to Duke. But I think it'll be a closer game. Let me going back to our conversation about Kansas State coming out of this region, the basis of that conversation was I said I liked the upsets in the first and the second rounds. But at the end of the day, I am a basketball elitist, and I want to see the Blue Bloods still come out of each region and make the Final Four. And so that's where I was kind of throwing Kentucky out of that region, and obviously that fell apart really quickly. And Kansas State's not like a modern Blue Blood, but they've been consistent enough over the years to be considered a pretty good college basketball program. And Magoo, this is where I bring you into the conversation. 12-team college football playoff. You got weird teams like San Diego State and Cincinnati and Houston. Do you want to see these smaller schools sort of upset their way to the Final Four college football playoff, or would you rather the bigger programs sort of take over in the second round? I guess it would be.
No, I'm totally fine with the 12, through 8 ranked teams making a little bit of noise, but like you said, not winning the whole thing. That would be a travesty. in my opinion. I don't see any good in having your 10th best team end up being the best by winning like the last 2 or 3 games. That's not how you decide in a sport like football. That's not how you decide that shit. I wasn't a fan of when the New York Giants would go in as a wild card as like a 7-9 or even a 9-7 team and go win the Super Bowl. It's like, yeah, I don't think that is the proper way to determine your best team of that year, is to find a team that could, just get their shit together when all the other teams are falling apart. So it's like, yeah, sure, give them a chance, but I don't want them to succeed to the point where being in the top 4 means nothing. I still want that to mean something. Like the course of action throughout the season should be a better barometer on who's actually better than the other. Like you'll see upsets and you'll see more talented teams go down to lesser talented teams, and that's fine. I mean, that's the whole essence of why you play the fucking game. But no, I don't want routinely, Creighton or Colgate or whatever being in the Natty. Like, I don't think anybody wants that outside of their 12,000 fans.
Well, and you made the Giants thing. Like, how often does that happen? To like, that's why they call it the Cinderella story, and you make a run. You're not seeing that year in, year out, and it makes it exciting for that year because you've got that that wild thing that nobody was expecting to happen, and it can be entertaining for that one time. But yeah, it's not. You don't want it to happen year in and year out, and honestly, it's not going to. Like, it's the reason you play the games, and it's the reason people get excited about this time of the year or about the NFL playoffs. And whenever they finally do start doing it, it'll be why people get excited about those first couple rounds of the NCAA football playoffs, is because you've got a chance for it, and you might see that happen now and then, but it's not going to be going to be the exception, not the rule.
When Butler played for 2 straight national championships in the early 2010s, that first year it made sense. They had Gordon Hayward. They were a top 5 team all year long. They played Duke and lost a close game. The second year they made it to the championship game as like a 9 seed, and I hated it. So I loved the first run, but I hated the second run because they just kind of got hot at the right time, but they weren't a good team, and they played an ugly game against UConn in that championship and lost. So sometimes you have these smaller schools, especially in college basketball, who are worthy of the runs that they're making, but they're usually seeded correctly. I think Butler was like a 2 seed that first year they made it.
I thought they were a 4. Anyway,
I mean,
yeah, I'm pretty sure they were a 4 that year.
They were a good team that year.
Yeah, they were a good team. That's and a lot of times you'll see that with the college team or with the college, like Tennessee versus Duke. Tennessee has a older, more seasoned team. They've got a lot of like big, well-built dudes, whereas Duke has a lot of freshmen that I think it was Wally Zerbiak was saying it on like the halftime show. Like his freshman year of college, he was 210, and his senior year he was 245. Like, when you've got a few years on you, you've got that development, that that lifting and diet program, and you go from being a boy in that first year to being a man by that third and fourth year. And that's what separates some of these teams a lot of times, is you might have a lower seeded team, but that lower seeded team is junior, senior heavy, and they got a bunch of men on their team, whereas the higher seeded team might have a bunch of freshmen. And in close, tight games where physicality and maturity matter, that stuff goes a long way on a basketball court. And so that's where you'll see a lot of those upsets. It's not necessarily an upset if you're looking at the makeup of the team. It's like, yeah, these guys are older, they're more mature, they're physically built for this type of basketball, whereas that other team, they're all young running gunners. That's why I hate the one and done, like Kentucky style or Calipari style of recruiting and team building, because you never develop anybody. So like, how can you expect to compete long term like that? I mean, yeah, you can be competitive every year, but it's a new thing every year. You're not building anything going forward, like Tennessee with all of those dudes.
I thought Magoo was going to say something. I agree with what
he's
you
just
said.
taking another drink.
He's just chilling over there.
He's deferring to the
I
experts.
did have another thought about college football and college basketball, but I don't want to derail us too much.
I'll bring the bracket back up then. We can do the Arkansas, UConn, and UCLA Gonzaga. You want to take Arkansas, UConn first? I'll let you lead with that one since you had thoughts on UConn.
So out of this region, I have UCLA, but after watching UConn in these first two games, like I said, I think they're losing both games at halftime. But even watching that first half, it's like, oh, UConn plays this style to where they're going to wear down their opponent and just crush them in the second half, and that happened both times. It wasn't as impressive against Iona because Iona is a smaller school. I mean, we were tempted to pick them as an upset, but they basically have like four guys on their team that are pretty good at basketball, and they eventually wore them down. St. Mary's looked good against VCUs, and the same thing happened to them as what UConn did to Iona. And after watching these two games, I still am rooting for UCLA to come out of that region because they were my pick, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be UConn. I like the makeup of their team. I referenced the big foreign guy they have down low. He's active on the boards. He can actually make bunnies. I don't know how many times I saw a big guy miss layups or miss like their little hook shots over the weekend. He makes them. And they got a couple of guys that can shoot the ball well too. So UConn over Arkansas.
Arkansas kind of caught fire of something there in that Kansas game. They, like you said, they made a big comeback. They really had to like fight and grit that out. I had made the comment to you in some of our texting, like if you're an SEC team this weekend, you're not even allowed to breathe on the other team, but the other team is allowed to just knock you all over the place, unless you're Kentucky, in which case it was the complete opposite. But Arkansas won that game in spite of getting some pretty bad calls against them, in spite of really being kind of outplayed for a lot of that game. They pulled together with a whole lot of grit and determination. And so I don't think they're one of those teams that UConn can just like grind down. I think they're going to keep pushing. And I think it was because of that, like that meat grinder that was the SEC regular season, where every one of those teams just went out every single week and beat the ever-loving shit out of each other. Like just nonstop. I mean, like that Tennessee bully ball against Duke, that was the SEC regular season, every single game. These dudes were just going out on the court and knocking the hell out of each other. So Arkansas is not going to be one of those teams that they can grind down. And if UConn does not get some separation in the first half, they're not going to be able to do that. So I think the first half is going to tell the tale for that game. If UConn can knock down shots and get some separation, then I think they'll win it. But if they let Arkansas stay close or be ahead coming out of halftime, they're not going to be able to run that game plan. Arkansas is going to stay with them. I still think UConn is better and will win ultimately, but they're going to give UConn fit. Arkansas is going to give UConn fits in this game.
Speaking of coaches not calling timeouts to draw up a play and giving the other coach time to set up a press, like I mentioned this to you in text, Arkansas's coach didn't micromanage. Basically, his strategy against the pressure that Kansas was putting on late in the game was as soon as you get the ball, throw it in. Like they didn't give Kansas time to set up. And honestly, that is a better strategy than most press breakers that coaches come up with.
Well, I mean, that's one of the keys to a very aggressive press is just like that was one of the things that I would tell my kids whenever I was coaching. If we were going against a press, it's like, don't let the ball hit the floor. Like get it in and push it up the floor. Don't give them time to set their press up and come after you. And that's like Arkansas is really good about that. And they also have very athletic, very fast guards that can push it up the court really quick. So that helps a lot. But yeah, I mean they don't fuck around. They get the ball in and they get moving. They push tempo when they need to, and it seems like they have smart guards in regards to that. Like the coach doesn't need to micromanage. They make good decisions. Arkansas's biggest problem is foul trouble. I think some of their foul trouble against Kansas was manufactured by the refs more so than them actually like committing fouls. But they also had foul trouble all through the SEC regular season. I think they had like the most fouls per game of any team in the NCAA basketball period. So they might play a little bit aggressively, but it worked out.
We should mention Eric Musselman took off his shirt while he was celebrating the win.
Took his shirt off, twisted around his head, spun it like a helicopter, jumped up.
Did I see correctly? This is 3 straight Sweet 16s for Arkansas.
I believe that's right.
Fuck yeah, you earn the right to do a PD Pablo if you're Arkansas and you take down Kansas. I think that should be like mandatory.
Yeah. You gotta pick this game.
Which game?
Arkansas.
So I don't know if you can tell or not, but like if you look around me, like even in the behind me, like the depth, if it looks like I'm teleported into a smoky fucking cigar lounge, it's because my house is filling up with smoke and I had to leave to go find out what the fuck that was. And so no fear, all is well, but fuck my house burning down. I'm gonna stick it out with you guys. Basketball.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
All right. Arkansas. Wait, what game?
Arkansas UConn.
Fucking UConn. That big African.
Mute him. Fuck, mute him. Can't say that.
No, the big African guy. Isn't he from Africa? Like,
yeah, he's very excited to be at the Sweet 16.
He's huge. Yeah. Like when he was being interviewed, he had to been all the way over, and it was the guy owned the game, and it was impressive, and I really respect. I'm showing my admiration of the guy.
Okay, Jim. We're gonna take your word.
I appreciated his articulate interview game after the game too.
Moving on, UCLA Gonzaga. Do we need to elaborate on this a lot? I think we've bagged on Gonzaga pretty much all night.
I will give Gonzaga this. They're always in the Sweet 16, it seems, and this is where they lose. They made a few Final Fours over the past couple of years, and championship games. But yeah, I'm going with UCLA in this. I do like Timmy from Gonzaga. He's been there a while. He's made some runs, but I got UCLA.
I'm thinking UCLA too. That Grand Canyon University game for Gonzaga was closer than the final score indicated. Like
that one was close throughout.
Yeah, I don't think Gonzaga has looked particularly good in either of these games. Like I didn't think that highly of TCU. Grand Canyon University. Was it you that said you thought that was a fake online university, like a university of Phoenix?
I didn't know they actually had a campus.
And a basketball team, right? Like,
well, I worked with a guy who graduated from Grand Canyon University, but he did it while living in Michigan. So that explains a little bit of my confusion.
Understandable. I'm sure you're not the only one.
I wonder if University of Phoenix has a basketball team too. Like, are they actually located in Phoenix?
It's possible. Why is it all the Arizona schools?
Why? Now we got to look that up. Jim, thoughts?
Sorry, I'm going to stay away from potential places of origin of players now that I know that that's a hot topic. But I hope Gonzaga wins because I'm pretty sure I have them in my Final Four in every bracket I filled out, which is...
You should just pull up a picture of Tiger Campbell as he's talking.
Who's that?
Not my brother.
Actually,
nice. Sorry.
Jaime Jaquez, where is he from? Is he Spanish? Sorry, I interrupt. Magoo, finish your...
Well, I was just going to... No, it was just I hope Gonzaga wins this game because I have them in the Final Four and at least at least 3 out of the 4 brackets because I got 3 of them here. I have no idea what I've filled out for my work bracket, but it's probably very similar to that. And I would like to take this moment to apologize to one Buck Johnson for filling out a very shitty bracket because it's.
You know what? I was offended that Buck chose your bracket
I know.
over Justin and I's. So, fuck Buck.
Oh shit! All right. Well, I think it's because he rightfully thought that I knew what the fuck I was doing, and I'm letting it be known now to never do that.
Jaime Jaquez is from California. He's from Camarillo, California, and Tiger Campbell is from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So, not a lot of.
Nope.
Yeah.
I'll take the Iowa one. I think they're better at basketball on that.
They're on the same team there, pal. But
well, he's going to be the leading guy with the most points and things.
he's a good point guard.
God, now I know what it feels like. Now I know what it feels like to be a basic white bitch. It's like, oh, the guy with the ball, he's gonna do great. Like, and the big guy, muscles, ooh, big muscles, probably pretty good at sports.
Did you not play even in like grade school?
So I never played organized basketball because everybody had a hoop at their house. We had a basketball court at the dead end of my neighborhood. Everybody just always got together. We played in my church gym. Like, I played a shitload, but I never learned any drills. I legit don't know the positions. I don't know what a good defensive scheme looks like. I know diddly fuck about the actual concept of basketball. Like, and I'm not even joking. I don't know what the possession arrow is even meant for because it doesn't switch every time the fucking other team gets the ball. And so I'm just like, fuck it, dude. 73 to 72 every game. Whoever has the ball last.
It's basically based off of the opening tip.
Okay. Well, I'll have to pay better.
And then you have dead ball, or you have like jump balls and stuff like that. So.
And then bonus, how do you get what is that? Timeout? Do you get an extra timeout if you're nice to the ref, or like what the fuck is bonus?
So
I mean,
we'll do basketball 101.
Yeah.
So
I'll stay after class. I'm sorry.
One team has committed 7 fouls in a half. The other team gets to start shooting at 1-and-1 free throw. So if they make the first free throw after the 7th foul is committed, they get another one, and then they get that until the other team commits 10 fouls, and they get to start shooting 2 free throws, which is the bonus, or not the
double bonus.
Double bonus.
There, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sure that there's at least some people watching this tournament right now that's watched this exact tournament for over 20 years that are like, yeah, I really don't pay that much attention. Like, I was always wondering. I just didn't want to be that asshole that was like, what's with the arrow?
So the possession arrow, it's different in college and then in the NBA too. I mean, you get a jump ball in the NBA, they're doing a tip at the free throw line. You get a jump ball in college, it's just whichever way the arrow is pointing.
Position.
Son of a bitch. I think I'm gonna like this sport now that I'm, you know what I mean? It feels good to know a little bit better.
It's easier if you can figure out like football lingo. If you watch enough basketball, pay enough attention, then it's pretty easy to catch on.
Well, it's just everything I watch. It's either, it's Shaq going, oh, hey, Charles, why don't you come? I'll throw out my hip on your ass. It's just shit like that. And I'm like, I'm not learning anything from this.
No, Charles probably isn't going to teach you a whole lot.
CBS needs to bring me and Mark on at the beginning of the tournament every year to do like a basketball 101. We'll start out and we're like, all right, basic white bitches. Now it's time for you to learn a little bit about how to play basketball. And then we'll break down the positions, we'll break down the possessions and what everything means. Now you are prepared for this year's tournament.
Because
and we will try not to offend anyone by saying that big African guy.
No, well, better than little. That would be a lie. But like when you're watching baseball, when they go into the shift, they'll explain it as soon as the play is over. Like, and they'll even have arrows like, oh, well, you see the third baseman came over because 78% of the guys' hits go to right field.
That's because they have the time to do that.
Same with football. When you watch highlights after the game, it's like, oh, boom, you see here the safety came underneath. And he didn't pick up the slot receiver, okay? And so the slot receiver went over the top and fucking touchdown. That's 6 points. And it's like, oh, I'm learning as I'm being entertained. But with basketball, it's just fucking chaos. Game ends, and then it's like, what a pathetic loser. You only scored 74 points. And I'm like,
on to the next game.
Yeah. I like these guys now.
Well, that's the chaos of the tournament, because as soon as the game ends, there's 3 other games that are already going on. So, and you've got another game that's getting ready to start. So you know there is no time to like stop and take a breath and explain stuff, because it's
it's literal just binging it for 1 month out of the year, and then I pay zero attention to it the other 11 months, like literally none. And that's on me. I'll do better this time next year. I'll come in here all fucking fired up. No one,
college probably.
Yeah,
that's part of the fun of basketball, though. Like if you ever go to like summer tournaments or summer camps, like team camps and stuff, like there'll be 6 courts that have games going on all at once, and so like you've just got nonstop action. And as soon as the game ends on one court, they're running the next 2 teams out to get ready to start the next game. And if you're like coaching a team in that, or playing like on a team in that, like you're trying to figure out, oh fuck, which court do we go to next? Like where is this court even? Like this is in a different building somewhere else. Like what are we doing? Like the whole thing is chaos. Like that is basketball in a nutshell. Is it is just like somewhat organized chaos, and everybody's running around like with their heads, like chickens with their heads cut off, and it's wildly fun and entertaining. But yeah, you don't have a lot of time to pick up on the nuance if you don't already know what the fuck's going on.
No. And I'm a short dude. Always been short as fuck. Like I was 4'11" going into high school. So there was no basketball, like organized basketball ever in my life. And so I never had that opportunity to sit down and be taught fucking anything. And basketball was never watched in my house. And it's a baseball, football, world down here anyway. But I like it when I'm watching it. I just don't know what the fuck's happening.
You just know that the team with the more points than the other team is winning the game at that current
time. One with the more big.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what a 3-pointer is. Like what they need to shoot behind to get.
I know NBA points. Jam was fun as shit. Played the fuck out of that. I had the metal chain on my hoop at home after Blue Chip came out. I watched that movie so much, fucking loved it.
Also, not a good source for learning basketball.
Nope.
Unless you're trying to learn how to rig stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is the picture becoming a little clearer on why I am the way I am?
Yeah. Space Jam was where you learn the most out of everything, right?
Yeah. I mean, why don't they just all jump that high?
Well, back to them all jumping that high. That's kind of Alabama's. Sorry. It's kind of Alabama's shtick. We've got Alabama, San Diego State, and Creighton, Princeton. And that'll be played at the Yump Center in Louisville. And I work this weekend, so I will not be attending any of these games, unfortunately.
Where is Creighton?
Iowa, I believe. No.
Yeah, I think
is it Iowa?
Something like that.
I'm gonna look that up.
Or am I thinking of Drake again? I don't even know. I don't know. I have nothing really to say about any of these matchups other than Alabama is playing on a really special level right now.
Yeah.
They're more athletic than everybody else in the tournament. They also, they're streaky with their shooting, but they even when they're missing, they're still taking them, and they eventually start dropping again. Brandon Miller is insane basketball player. I like the connection, like the chemistry this team has. Kind of reminds me of that 2012 Kentucky team, where it just seems like they enjoy playing together and they play really well together. So I just got Bama winning against San Diego State, and then Creighton over Princeton, and then Bama over Creighton.
So Creighton is in Omaha, Nebraska, allegedly.
Yeah, that's where the. I think that's where some of the. What do you call it? The College World Series is played. They play some of the games at their
Oh,
stadium.
you said Nebraska. Okay.
Yeah, Omaha. Yeah, that's where the finals of the College World Series and I think Little League World Series always are. They could have moved it, I don't know, but it used to be there all the time. And now Princeton University is in Princeton, New Jersey.
Beautiful campus. I mean, Princeton was about 15 miles from where I lived when I was up there, and I would go on campus all the time, and just beautiful campus, amazing setting. Like at least when I was up there, it wasn't like really super woke, even though you would expect an Ivy League. You would expect an Ivy League school in New Jersey to be extremely woke, and it really didn't give off a lot of that vibe, at least not when I was there.
What years were this?
14, 15.
Okay.
So not
I don't mean this in an intellectual way at all, but just I cannot envision Justin Campbell walking around on the Princeton campus or just living in New Jersey.
Oh, they've got the Olympic. Let me drop this out. They've got the Olympic test site, or like where they do all the training for the rowers and stuff. And so I would go to like regattas and stuff on the weekend and watch like the rowing competitions. That shit's awesome. Like it's a lot more fun than what I ever would have expected.
Do you immediately start to feel just slightly better than everybody else, like just by looking around? And so that's what I was gonna say. Is before it became woke, it was just snooty. I want my elite Ivy League dickheads to be snooty again. Like
just play water polo and
make nerd snooty again, not woke.
I'd wear button downs and like a smoker's jacket, and
fuck yeah, man.
So
let me go sockless. Let me go sockless in some loafers and put on a seersucker down here, and like let me look up my nose, bitches. I'm for it.
Somewhat impressed by the amount of hot women who get accepted into these Ivy League schools.
We don't talk about that.
They gotta have recruitment tool.
I'm sure that played no part in why I hung around on campus.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, but I kind of connecting where you were at and
nice bars
status and stuff. But yeah,
I enjoyed the bars. A lot of microbreweries. Very, very good. Very good.
Both hoity and toity.
Yes.
Yeah. I got Creighton
in this.
Highbrow. Princeton's reign of terror must come to an end. I got Creighton because I think it would just be funny to watch Alabama and Creighton, and then Alabama just slaughter them, because that would be exactly what's expected, which means that's exactly probably what won't happen. It'll probably be FAU and Princeton, and no one will be happy. Or San Diego State and Princeton, my bad. And no one will be happy, and I'll turn it off, and I'll stop watching basketball for another 11 months.
I would not enjoy that.
No, very much bad.
I can see Bama and Creighton playing a close game, and then the game sort of like getting out of Creighton's hands in the last 5 minutes or so.
I think San Diego State has the potential to give Alabama a hard time because they do play such impressive defense, but San Diego State is also not a great offensive team. And Alabama is a good enough offensive team that they will be able to weather San Diego State laying it on them defensively. San Diego State reminds me a lot of Tennessee with like their style and everything. And Alabama handled Tennessee easily pretty much every time they played this year. So I feel like it'll be a similar game. Like San Diego State will make a good game of it, but Alabama's going to end up beating them pretty easily. I'm going to go ahead and keep riding the Princeton upset wagon. Take them
Princeton
to the
party bus.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Take them to the Elite Eight, but that's where the Cinderella story finally ends, and they turn back into a pumpkin, and then Alabama smashes that pumpkin and yells something about being a rat in a cage. Or
the world is a vampire, man.
That's it. Moving on, let's see.
We talked about it, but we didn't actually pick this.
Kansas. I think this one's going on in Kansas City, Houston and Miami, and Texas Xavier. Well, yeah, we talked about it, but I don't think we actually did any picking.
Yeah,
on it.
I think since Sasser is back for Houston, I'm going to take Houston to beat
Smart.
Miami. And I am still rolling with Texas over on this other side. I think their toughest game, or I think they'll benefit from playing that tough game against Penn State and not have so much of a tough time against Xavier. But then I think Houston, Texas has the makings of a entertaining 50-45 game with Texas winning, because I think Texas has just more guys than Houston does.
Interesting. What was it? There it is. Xavier gave me immediate heartburn right out of the freaking gate by making it close against Kennesaw State. That was not what was expected. Kennesaw State is like it's a little program. They just got a football team a couple years ago. And Xavier, to me, just in the time that I've paid attention in March, I recognize Xavier. It's been pretty good basketball school for as long as I've been aware of sports. And so I was thinking it was just
play basketball.
You're darn tootin'. And I just expected that it was going to be a 15 to 20 point spread, not even a challenge. And it was a nail biter until I think like the last 2.5 minutes. And I think that's the only scare Xavier's going to have until the game after next. I think they walk away with a W here. I'm calling it. Because there's only one school from Texas that can stand supreme and above all others, and that one is
Rice. Oh,
yeah. Is Rice in Texas?
Yes.
So,
Wow.
Learning
I'm learning so
all
much.
kinds of things,
I am
Southern
fan-
Methodist University.
I know that one's there. But yeah, give me Xavier and whatever's next.
He said, so his analysis here was, I've seen Xavier in the spot down through the years. And so I'll take Xavier.
Yep. And they
Solid.
surprised me. They surprised me early against Kennesaw State, and I said, well, now they're awake. Not going to have that shit happen again. Yep.
Fun fact, Xavier's coach is in his second go-around with the program. After being, was he fired from Arizona or he resigned? Sometimes it's the same thing for a whole bunch of recruiting misconduct.
Ooh, that means he wants to win. I respect that.
Yeah, and he was good. I mean, he was good at Xavier the first time around, obviously, to get the Arizona job. And
another fun fact I've discovered over the weekend: Kennesaw State's coach was one of the assistants at Murray when I was there. I thought he looked familiar, and then it clicked that he one of the other coaches who was there for the women's team when I was there is at the tournament and or was at the tournament last weekend and had a picture with him. I was like, oh, that's Amir. No wonder I recognize that dude. Like, that's pretty cool. So
Kennesaw State was a HBU or HBCU.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
So
I don't think so.
Howard is, and we glossed over this news, but our wonderful vice president was at the Howard game and she got booed.
Good for her.
Did you see this?
Good for them. I don't know. Good for somebody. Good for us.
There's a lot of HBCUs in Atlanta, but they're all down in Atlanta. Kennesaw State's it's out in the burbs. If it's an HBCU or former one,
they built in
that's
the
news.
wrong spot.
No, that's news to me. That's news to me. It could be. Look, I come on here bearing myself in front of the YouTube world and exposing how fucking retarded I am. You don't have to cut off the show, by the way. So it's very well a possibility. It's very well a possibility, but I had never heard that.
I'm almost positive they are. Or
I know we got all kinds of other ones, but they're not in this tournament. Surprisingly enough.
Nope. One year, I don't remember what program I took over, but when I used to play the college basketball game, like the last one that they made for Xbox, I got a job at a school and I built them into a dynasty, and I didn't find out until a little later that I was the head coach of an HBCU. I had no idea.
Oh no! How'd you get him so motivated, Mark?
It worked out for us. I was recruiting white kids too, so I don't know if that was allowed or not. But
The game didn't have a built-in default like you can't do that error.
No.
The 401 page or 404
I was
page.
going for those gritty players.
That's why they didn't make the game anymore.
I miss that game. I know.
It had to have been like 2014, but it came out in 2013 because that's when the football game ended. But
yeah, they ended the basketball a few years even before the football because it wasn't. I was probably the only one buying it.
Well, that was the lawsuit that brought it all about was by the basketball player who raised
Ed
such a stink
O'Bannon.
about
Yeah, UCLA. Yeah.
And so that might have been why they were like, oh, this is not going to go well. Just go ahead and cut it out. And football's like, it's making too much money. We're going to ride this thing until we are court ordered to cease. And then 10 years later, we'll put it back out.
My Denard Robinson, the last NCAA game that they made, my disc developed the Ring of Death a few years ago, and I was heartbroken.
Well, that's just a circuit board issue. You can, at least back in the day, you used to be able to just ship that thing off right to Xbox. They would either fix it or just send back a brand new one. Really? No charge. Yeah. I'm on my third 360 because I got the Ring of Death a couple times. But anyway, I do know that the NCAA, the EA Sport NCAA fill in the blank sport game is supposed to be coming out either in 24 or 25. I think it's 25.
Yeah.
Either way, still got to wait a little
while. But I might just buy a console and that game just to play the game. Because I doubt it will be able to be played on the 360.
No, it's all going to be next gen only.
Yeah.
I do know that. Like, I still have my 360s that operate. And I'll download. I am this level of nerd. I will go online and download. There's other bigger nerds out there that update the existing players to modern day lineups and then put them online. And it's like, here's my, elite woman, elite ladies man 69-420. If you download my team, you'll have all the most up to date things. So every year I'm updating my rosters and still playing seasons on. I'm a dweeb. Why do y'all talk to me?
Because we love you. I'm taking Texas over Xavier, and
I don't remember.
I have more questions about this Doobie Brothers NCAA connection. I think there's something nefarious to that.
I'm gonna take Miami over Houston, and then I'm gonna take Texas over Miami.
Forte
Texas over Xavier.
2K.
So
I don't know.
Never mind.
So for the Final Four, I've got Bama and Texas and UCLA and Kansas State.
So how they have after week 4 in the NFL season, they have redrafts where if I were to do it today, knowing what I know now, is there any way to be able to fill out an updated bracket?
I'm sure some people have challenges where you pick the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Forward.
Well, sports betting's not legal in Georgia, so I can't even. I guess unless I had a VPN, I could probably get around it. But they don't allow any of that fun shit. So I'm just stuck with my shitty picks from 2 weeks ago.
Kennesaw State is not a HBCU. They have a partnership with an HBCU for a entrepreneurial program that they do, but they are not. They themselves are not an HBCU.
And that's pretty typical around here. Like the Terry College of Business is an affiliate with another school, and there's Georgia Gwinnett College has a campus in Athens, and Georgia Southern has a campus in Atlanta, and SCAD also, which stands for Savannah College of Art and Design, also has a bigger campus in Atlanta than they do Savannah. There's a lot of cross-pollinating of higher learning. And I think they all like to take credit for all the good things that everybody else is doing. And they're like, we're all in this together.
That was one of those movies that I was good with only seeing once.
What movie?
Higher Learning.
Oh,
I didn't
Oh,
know
yeah.
that was a movie.
Higher
thought we were talking
Learning, American History X,
Glory Road.
and Requiem for a Dream. I watched all of those around the same time, and I was like, man, that's enough fucking trauma for my freshman year of college. I think I'm gonna.
and
only
Justin
watch-
and Justin noticed he started just goose stepping every time he went to the bathroom. He was like, I don't know what this is for. What is this for?
Like
You
I'm
know,
only
Mark-
gonna watch comedies from now on. Like nothing but Van Wilder and Harold and Kumar. I'm done with serious movies. Like those three back to back to back. It was
It'll do something to you.
yeah. That was about enough.
I have no idea what it's about.
You should watch Higher Learning.
Yes.
What's that actor's name? The redheaded New Yorker that's always bitching about
redhead.
things and always like, hey, I'm from New York and I'm a white washed up actor and shit. But he's super Jewish and got red hair, kind of like Mark.
Michael. Shit. Now I can't.
Anyway,
remember his last name.
He's
Anyway,
in
yeah.
that, and he plays a Nazi.
Oh,
Jews playing Nazis. Who would have thunk it?
Crazy.
it's not like it's never happened.
And we're on topic.
All right, so who y'all got for your Final Fours? What I say? UCLA, Texas, and Bama, and Kansas State is who I've got.
Bama, Tennessee, Texas, and UCLA.
Jim's
Fuck it,
got.
man.
No. My initial, I didn't pick it, but I am actually going to pick UConn to beat UCLA, even though my initial Final Four is UCLA. Updated is UConn.
Yeah. Updated. I will. Fuck it. I'm still going with Gonzaga. I need them to win. They're still alive. Houston, obviously. Baylor really let me down. So come on, Bama. Ugh. I gotta shake that off. And then
dirty after that.
fucking
Gotta
gross.
go take a shower.
Yeah, with my clothes on.
If you pick Tennessee for the other one, then you're
This
gonna.
is
no,
I
give me
feel
Kansas State. Give me Kansas State.
You can't take Bama and Tennessee. Like it would just be too much.
Fuck no.
It's just
No.
like,
Like internally combust.
No, and I'm only picking Bama because they're a 1 seed, and I'm ignorant. I can't
all year
be like,
long, you talked about Bama's football team is on the slide. This is what you get. Now their basketball team is going to become top program in the nation.
Well, and I can live with that
can live with
because
this.
up until this point, I don't give a shit.
It's not like Georgia's basketball team even.
Literally, our basketball arena is collapsing in on itself. It's closed indefinitely. Chunks of concrete are falling from the ceiling onto the playing surface. That's how much Georgia gives a shit about its basketball program. So,
Is it
it's
right
hard-
next to the football stadium?
it's next to their training facility.
Okay, so literally, Michigan's basketball arena is directly adjacent to the football stadium. And Michigan's basketball team's been pretty good for a few years now, but the basketball arena is the most ugly thing you've ever seen. And it's directly next to the big house, which is obviously a monolith in college football. So it's,
yeah.
it's funny.
It's like having 7-Eleven right under the touchdown Jesus mural. It's like, what the who put this here? Not today, Satan.
Jay Forte has got the horns. Justin has left us for whatever
I don't
reason.
blame him. I mean, he
Justin's
hung in there
back.
way longer.
I
His,
knew I
his
had it.
house might be on fire as well, but
No, Justin's back. I knew I had it. I believe, I'm almost positive this is the last NCAA basketball game that was made. That I think it's the one Jay Forte is talking about.
oh, we got Blake Griffin. I think that is the last one. I don't
Likely
actually. I
last
think
one.
I had 09, so maybe I didn't even have the last one. The second to last one.
I knew I had it somewhere. I had to go find it, and I didn't.
Right.
I didn't want y'all to like see my ass up in the air as I'm like digging around through that closet back there. So I figured I'd turn my camera off.
But yeah, I can only select one SEC team for the Final Four, and I hope this satiates Alabama's sports championship drought that they've been experiencing. Poor guys.
Yeah, it's really struggling.
Yeah, they can have the basketball one. I'll concede that. But not before Houston has something to say about it, by God. Go Cougs.
No, I will apologize to you personally if Houston wins it all. Justin and I are maybe we're a little too hard on Houston tonight.
If Houston wins this, and the guy who spent an hour explaining how stupid I am about this, that just proves my point that this is just a game that is maybe not meant to be understood.
Well, at one point later in the season, I was watching a lot of Big Ten basketball, and I was watching a lot of SEC basketball, and none of the teams in any of those games had a number one next to their name. I was like, who the fuck is number one in the country right now? And so I just went to like pulled up the Fox Sports app, and it was Houston. I was like, what? Who is Houston, and why are they number one in the nation? Like, what a joke.
Well, they have so they made the Final Four 2 years ago in the bubble tournament. They made the Elite Eight last year. I mean, they have Kelvin Sampson. Kelvin Sampson's been a good coach for a while now.
I guess that's true.
Go get him, Kelvin.
For a while, wasn't he?
He what?
He was at Oklahoma for a while.
Yeah, Oklahoma and Indiana.
Yeah, he's a good coach.
So do y'all pay like the same amount of attention to college basketball, like in the off season and leading up to the season? And is there any place you could direct an imbecile like me to anything so that I can like keep up? Or do you just watch the games during the season and pick up everything you need to know about it?
I used to pay attention to college basketball like year round, not as much anymore. But I guess the same places where I would keep up with college football or the same outlets. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really get worked up about recruiting and stuff like that. Like when I was in college and an active part of programs and like actually cared, like then I was, and even for a few years after I got out of college, like I paid attention to the recruiting classes and stuff because I knew a lot of the coaches. I knew who they were looking for. I had been a part of that. Now, shit, I don't know, what is it? 20 years removed, almost 15 years removed. I'm a lot less involved in paying attention to like off-season recruiting and stuff like that. And more or less like once the preseason tournaments start going on, I start paying attention kind of at an arm's length. And then as the football season starts to wind down, like around Christmas is when the basketball teams really start to kind of figure out who they are. Like that's when your season really starts to take off is like usually you'll play in a Christmas tournament or you'll have like a Christmas road trip for a lot of these teams. And that's where they'll start to like figure out who they are and what they are. So usually like around Christmas, right after the first of the year, that's when I really start to pay attention to basketball and see who's gonna make a run into their conference tournament. And then I'm really like locked in for conference tournaments. And because then you get a real good feel for, who's going to the tournament or who's going to the NCAA tournament, and you get to see them like in their element leading up to that. So that's kind of my progression through basketball season.
They used to come out with a DVD of like, maybe Justin has some of these of like the tournament recaps. And then they would actually have like condensed like 50-minute versions of the Final Four game and championship game. Did you ever have any of these, Justin?
Mm-mm.
I have the year 2000 through 2012. And I used to like watch all of these games and like take notes of them or whatever. There was one year I took notes on like all of the champions in the Final Four teams. And I decided to construct this email, and I emailed a bunch of like different coaches around the country. And I was like, hey, give me a spot on your staff. I actually heard back from like 3 guys. Butler was one of them. It wasn't like Brad Stevens himself, but it was like a guy on their squad or whatever. And they're all like, hey, you got to finish college first. I never finished college, so I didn't follow through with that.
That was the at Murray. I ran the film exchange my first year there. So like I had all the tapes, and there's like really strict rules on in-conference film exchange and out of conference film exchange, and like how many copies you can make of the different game tapes and stuff like that, and who you're allowed to send them to. Like, it's there are like levels of bureaucracy just in film exchange that like you wouldn't even imagine. Like, I was sitting in class one night at like 8:00 and get a call from one of the assistant coaches at Ohio State who wanted to swap game tapes on, I can't remember who it was we had played. Might have been you and I.
You immediately told him to go to hell and fuck Ohio State, right?
No, I mean, I get like phone calls from like coaches of major programs like on my cell phone in the middle of the night. So then I was like, I'm in class, give me about an hour, and then I'll head over to the office and see what I got and check my list and like make sure I haven't already swapped this one with somebody else that would create a conflict. Like, yeah, it was really cool. And I got to do scouting reports and stuff too. So like, no, I don't own any of those films because I spent so much time watching film when I was in college that
access.
I didn't want anything to do with all of that tape after I got out because I spent so much time doing it while I was in. I had a really good deal worked out because mom and dad live about 10, 15 miles away from UT Martin. And I had a deal worked out with the head coach at UT Martin. Like I got to use their film room and make tapes and stuff on weekends if I was at home at my parents' house. And she was like, just park out here. If you get a ticket, just give it to me. I'll get it taken care of. Like, if you'll do some of our film stuff for us while you're in there, she's like, you can have full access to our film room. So I got access to stuff that we weren't supposed to have, just through like, handshake backdoor deals, with just out of getting to know people. So it was really cool.
Justin rising up through the dirty, seedy underbelly of back room.
I had an opportunity to get on with Martin, and then they ended up letting the coach go. And then I had an opportunity to get on at Murray, and it was between me and one other, and they didn't think that the other one was going to accept, and then they ended up accepting. So I had an opportunity, and maybe I should have pursued it more, but I'm not unhappy with where I am in life now.
He said, look at me now.
Justin's like, no regrets, bitches. And I respect that. Well, hell yeah, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Guess we'll be back next week to make our Final Four and championship picks.
Yeah. So how long until the championship? What's the date on that? Is that in 2 weeks?
First Monday in April.
Yeah, it'll be the 3rd.
The actual date.
Yeah, who cares about those things?
I'll try to make this work next week. I'll be at my parents' house, but I should be able to figure it out.
And for our 2 viewers out there who might be wondering,
we love you and we respect you. Thank you for being here.
That definitely. I would say that there will be some guys on tomorrow night talking football, but it might be a last-minute decision.
It will be far less gay than the ones you see on your screen right now. I guarantee it.
There's been a lot of off-season stuff, but I only get it in like the form of notifications on my phone at this point.
Notifications from our group chat.
Basically, yes.
I've left my TV on NFL Network and notifications on for every Falcons page I follow. So yeah, shit has been happening.
If Michigan is watching this later on, I might start drinking the Honolulu Blue Kool-Aid. I like the Lions moves.
Oh, I thought that was like code word for like drinks that make you susceptible for
nothing sexual. Nope.
No fingers anywhere near the.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Whatever you say there, buddy.
Oh, I can't escape the finger anywhere I go, but we're live.
Oh my God.
We're live.
Yeah, cut the feed, dude.
Here we go. March Madness. How about that? This is going to be a wild ride. What a game. Anything can happen in March. Wait. to be forever a champion.
How about that? Absolute madness.